Put the hip shit on the shelf. Cause the way the real fellas being real myself. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help. It's time to switch it up. Put the hip shit on the shelf. Cause the way the real fellas being real myself. My dad done seen the glory of the coming to the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help. Money, money, money. Money matters like all of it. I know you like Kanye West says, having money is not everything, not having it is. No, Deuteronomy 8:18 says God gives us the ability to create money. No, it's the love of money that's more. You know, I money so much, why do you get up a little more cash? I do care about money. I'm just trying to leave a legacy for money. That's not everything, but when you got it, you can do some cool stuff. Now, your hosts are talking money in the morning. Financial help network, the one for that.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Talking Money in the Morning Live with your main man, H Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the working class, where I do my absolute best to bring practical yet proven wealth building strategies to working class men and women all over this great nation of ours. It is truly an honor, privilege, and a blessing to come to you guys each and every morning. I see some of the same beautiful faces over and over. That tells me that you believe that what I say has a little bit of value and it's worth an investment of your time, and you come hang out with me each and every morning, and I don't take that lightly. I really, really appreciate it. Today we're going to go in a little bit abbreviated, maybe, and then we go over now. But we're going to talk about some things that will help you understand how this money game is really played and how you can play it to win if you're willing to implement some of the strategies and some of the game plan that wealthy people actually implement. So without further ado, let me give you my sponsor for today is Bedrock Assurance. My man, Eric Pierre, your favorite CPA, is a professional, reliable, affordable CPA that does personal tax returns as well as corporate tax returns. And if you need those services, then you want to check them out at bedrockassurance.com, or you can go over to his fan page at facebook.com/your favorite CPA and let him help you keep more money in your pocket and less than Uncle Sam. So again, that is Bedrock Assurance, your favorite CPA, Eric Pierre. You can look him up on Facebook. You can go over to his fan page, facebook.com/your favorite CPA, certified public accountant. I've been knowing Eric for a little over 2 years now. So really good guy, really professional, really knows his stuff when it comes to the tax code, corporate structures, and wealth planning as well. So if you get your taxes done with Eric, talk to him about his wealth planning programs as well, because he wants to help, like me, working class people start to understand the importance of building wealth and how to do it. So that is your favorite CPA, Eric Pierre, founder and CEO of Bedrock Assurance. And the website over there is www.bedrockassurance.com. So before we get into today's show, as I like to let you know each and every day, in case you stumbled upon this show on accident, let me tell you exactly who this show is for. This show is for risers and grinders only, guys. If you're ready to get up, get out, and get something, then this is your show. If you like me, when I lay down at night, I start thinking about what I'm going to be able to do tomorrow, the day after that, next week, next month, next year, next 5 years, to make sure that my children's children are proud to bear my last name, then this show is for you. If you're the type of person that understands that there is power in sacrificing today to build a legacy for tomorrow, then this is your show. If you are the type of person that has the deep desire to build wealth, maybe you even have the discipline to build wealth, but maybe you don't have a game plan, maybe you need a coach, a mentor, maybe you need a team of people to help encourage and motivate and uplift you, well, this is your show, because that's exactly what we do here. Now, on the other hand, who is the show not for? This show is not for the pessimist. This show is not a person who has that weird relationship with money where they think money is evil, they think capitalism is a dirty word, they think wealthy people are jerks. If that is you, this is not your show, because what you have to understand is when you have that type of relationship with money, then you will always repel money away from you. Because I want you to think about something very clearly. Your subconscious mind will never allow you to attract something that you think is evil. Right? If you think money is evil, then subconsciously you'll never attract that to you. If you think wealthy people are jerks, your subconscious mind will never allow you to become something that you despise. Right? If you think wealthy people are jerks, then why would you become one? So you have to understand, you have to get the right relationship with money. We know that money isn't everything, but we also know that money is a necessary tool in order to survive in today's world. So if that's you, this is not your show. You can exit stage left if you so choose. But let me be clear about something. I do not have a problem with you not wanting to be wealthy. I only have a problem with you when you have a problem with me wanting to be wealthy, right? I can't get that. If you are satisfied with where you are, you've made it, and you're cool, you're comfortable, you're content. Okay, that's you. That's not me. I don't have a problem with you being cool with where you are, but I don't want you to have a problem with me chasing my dreams of becoming wealthy. And as I tell you each and every morning, if you've never seen a future billionaire before, and yes, that's billion with a B, then I want you to take a screenshot and then hold me to it and watch me work over the next 5 to 10 years and see what happens. Now, you can stand on the sideline, you can cheer for me, or you can cheer against me. Makes me no, never mind. But what I recommend that you do is that you get in the game with me, because there's not a single billionaire on this planet that has become a billionaire without helping others become billionaires, mega millionaires, decamillionaires, and the likes, so on and so forth. So I want to help 1,000 families achieve their goal of financial stability in 2017. So if you want in, then comment "I want in," or send me an inbox, and I will help you along the way. So let's get right down to today's show. I already gave you my sponsor for today, Bedrock Assurance. Go check out my man Eric Pierre. Send him a friend request. Tell him that you were recommended by the Financial Health Mentor, and he'll give you a little bit of a discount and put you on top of the priority list. So that's how we're going to do this thing. And then if you want to check out his website, it's www.bedrockassurance.com. You can't beat a professional, affordable accounting services by a certified public accountant. And trust me, guys, his prices aren't any greater than you will get at the big box tax store, but chances are you will get a better service, right? So in order for us to move forward, I'm going to talk about why the rich are really getting richer. Now, let me be clear about something before I get into the topic, because I don't want my conscious community to jump all down my throat. We're just going to take off the table. We know that 99% of the wealth by the 1%ers were stolen, right? We know that. We know white supremacy. We know racism exists. We know that, right? So I don't want. I'm not going that way with this. So hopefully my conscious folks don't beat me up too bad, because usually when I start talking about this, I get somebody comment in the stream that, well, white supremacy and all that. But like I tell you before, I'm solutions oriented, man. If we only look at the problems get so big that we start to become afraid to attack those problems. So I like to do the reverse. I like to talk about solutions. So my solutions get so big, it shrinks the problem, and I'm not afraid to attack the problem. So while wealthy people continue to get wealthy, we're going to take the stolen wealth off the table. We're going to take white supremacy and racism off the table for a quick second, and we're just going to talk about the 80% of millionaires that are first generation wealthy. That means these people became wealthy in the last 24 years, right? These people became wealthy in the last 24 years, and they were not born wealthy. So I want you to understand where I'm coming from with this. So I've got a couple things jotted down on my notes, and then I'm going to give you an excerpt from The Millionaire Next Door. I told you guys that I have a commitment to devouring at least $5 per month, 5 books per month rather. And where does that number come from? I told you I study billionaires. Billionaires read at least 5 books per month. If I'm going to become a billionaire, I have to do what billionaires do first, and then I can manifest the billions. Some of you guys got it backwards and start thinking about what you're going to do after you get your millions or after you get your goals. That's wrong. No, you have to do what those people do before. That's how those people got to be millionaires. That's how those people got to be wealthy. That's how those people got to be billionaires. They had habits in place first, and it was those habits that led them to the end result. So some of you guys are saying, man, when I become a millionaire, I'm gonna read books all the time and I'm gonna have freedom to do so. No, those people who are millionaires had that habit first. And that's what led to the manifestation of those millions. So again, coming to you live from Tupelo, Mississippi. So let's get right into it. Some of the things that help the wealthy get wealthy. Number one is their habits. We just talked about the habit of reading, the habit of studying, the habit of investing time as well as money into things that are going to bring them a greater return, right? Wealthy people understand the difference between assets and liabilities. Wealthy people understand the difference between assets and liabilities, and they spend their time, they spend their money, they spend their resources on the acquisition of assets versus liabilities. Poor middle class people don't understand the difference, and they spend a lot of time, energy, effort, and money in the accumulation of liabilities, those things that will not appreciate in value, those things that will never bring another dime to your household. How many people do you know lined up outside of Walmart for 18 hours to get a doggone TV? So look at the amount of time that they spent. Look at the amount of energy and effort that they spent, and then look at the amount of money that they spent to acquire something that's not going to put any money back into their fold, back into their household. I told you guys, there's only one wealth formula. There is only ever been one, and there will only ever be one. And that is cash, asset, cash. You take your money, you buy, build, and invest in an asset that's going to bring you more cash, and you wash, rinse, and repeat. And you do that over and over and over and over and over again. And when that becomes your habit, you build wealth on autopilot, point blank, period. You build wealth on autopilot. So every time you get your hands on some money, I don't care if it's your $500 a week paycheck, then peel off $20, $30, $40, $50 of that immediately and buy, build, or invest in some sort of income producing asset that's going to bring you more cash. And when the more cash comes in, you keep doing that. You keep that as your habit. So wealthy people understand the difference between assets and liabilities. The other reason rich people continue to get richer is because rich people, wealthy people, tend to measure their status in net worth and not income, right? See, poor and middle class people measure their success in terms of income. If my income is $100,000 a year, my income is $150,000 a year, then that's how I measure my success. And when I give you this excerpt, you're going to understand why that is not the best measure of success. Wealthy people measure their income or their success by their net worth, which is what I own, the value of what I own versus what I owe, right? The value of what I own minus what I know. So you understand now why wealthy people get wealthier, rich people get richer, because they actually own, right? Poor and middle class people don't own anything, right? Most of us are going to get in a car this morning that we don't own yet, right? Most of us live in a house that we don't own yet. Most of us are sitting on furniture, watching TVs and things and stuff, and using cell phones and electronics and things that we don't own, right? And as a result, we're paying for those things monthly. So those are liabilities and not assets. So wealthy people measure their success by way of net worth and not income. See, wealthy people don't look at $80,000 a year of income. They look at, okay, I've got this income, which this is just a resource. How can I turn this resource into something of value? So a poor middle class person has $80,000 a year. So every year they tend to spend $80,000 on things that's not going to bring them any income back. A wealthy person, on the other hand, and say, I've got $80,000 that's coming in this year. I need to figure out how I'm going to take at least 40,000 of this and double it to 80,000. The other 40 I'm going to have to live on. I know that. and then I'm going to live below my means. So I've got 80,000. How do I take 40,000 and make that 40,000 become 80,000 while I live on the other 40? That's not the mindset of poor and middle class people. Poor and middle class people have the keep up with the Joneses syndrome, right? And they don't realize that the Joneses are going to hell in a handbasket. They don't realize the Joneses are on a downward spiral and straight to the poorhouse, right? So you're keeping up with people who are also broke. You're keeping up with people who are also broke. So you have to understand that there is value in understanding the difference between an asset and a liability, and you should be spending your time accumulating assets and not liabilities. You should be looking at what your net worth is. I keep telling you guys, I'm going from a negative net worth. My net worth is probably minus a couple hundred grand right now. Right, because you look at my house, look at the student loan debt that my children have, because I'm going to own that debt, because as their father, I should have been able to write a check for them to go to school. So I'm going to own that debt. And even though I have a couple businesses that are worth about 30, 40 grand, that still puts me in a negative net worth. So I'm looking at my net worth as my measure. I'm not looking at my income as my measure. See, your income has a lot to, your net worth has a lot to do with how much of your income you actually keep, right? That's where you want to get to. How much of your income are you actually keeping? How much of it are you actually putting to work for you? That's why wealthy people get wealthier over and over. They establish the right habits. Guys, it's 2017. Who's going to admit that they have some wrong habits with their money so that they can fix it in 2017? What is the first thing you have to do if you're going to change or transform your life? You have to first admit where you are, whether it's somewhere you want to be or not. It all begins with, hi, my name is Cortez Springer, and I'm a mass consumer. Hi, my name is Cortez Springer, and I have a negative net worth. Hi, my name is Cortez Springer, and I am a under accumulator of wealth, right? It begins with that admission of where you are. Now, in order for the GPS to get you to where you need to be, you have to first plug in your current location. I'm in Tupelo, Mississippi right now. If I plugged into my GPS and I want to get to St. Louis without putting in where I'm from, it'll never work for me. Or where I am, it'll never work for me. I have to give the GPS something in order for it to guide me to where I want to be. In order for you to get to where you want to be financially, you have to give something. Where are you right now? And you got to be honest about that. If I told my GPS I'm in San Diego, California, and I'm trying to get to St. Louis, Missouri, when actuality I'm in Tupelo, Mississippi, that GPS will never get me to St. Louis from where I am. I have to be honest with where I am right now so that I can develop a plan that's going to get me where I need to be from where I am, right? So you have to understand, wealthy people understand the difference between assets and liabilities. They measure their status, their success in terms of net worth and not income. Poor middle class people tend to go after income. If I can just make an extra $5,000 a year, I'm gonna be all right. No, you're not. Because if you're not all right with what you make right now, chances are making more is not going to be the answer. You have to be all right with where you are right now. That means you have to get below your means of living. That means you might have to cut out a bunch of stuff so that you can get right financially. I see you, Sandra. Sandra said, my name is Sandra and I have a negative net worth. You got to start with where you are. Start with where you are. I think it was Frederick Douglass who said, you start with where you are, start with what you have, and understand that that is plenty enough. Start with where you are, start with where you have, and just know that that is plenty enough. And if we can start with where you are, you say, okay, so now let me start moving up so I can get where I want to be financially. And there's nothing wrong with that. See what we've done here in this country is, instead of becoming problem solvers and getting good at solving our problems, we've gotten extremely good at covering them up. That's why it doesn't look like 3 out of 4 Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, because everybody's hiding the fact that they're struggling, right? Everybody's hiding the fact that they're struggling right now. But if we took the same amount, because and know this, to hide the fact that you're struggling, it takes some energy and effort. If we took the same energy and effort that it takes for us to cover up the fact that we're struggling, if we took that same energy and effort and put into solving our problems, we wouldn't be struggling much longer. If we took the same energy and effort that it took to put on this facade every day, we wouldn't be struggling, right? But most of us won't admit where we are and say, okay, damn, I got a negative net worth. That means if I die today, my children are going to be passed down debt and not wealth. Since that is where I am today, what am I going to do today, tomorrow, next week to fix that? But when you start pretending that you're living high and you're pretending that everything is all good, then you never make the course corrections to change course so you can end up where you want to be. Right? The other thing that wealthy people understand that's causing them to get rich and get richer is they understand the power of ownership. Right? They understand the power of ownership. Right? Tony said pride. Man, pride is killing us, man. Pride is killing us. Pride is killing us. There was a time when we had the mortgage burning parties and things of that nature. There was a time where we had the opposite of that. We would be proud that we could live on less. We were having competitions on who can live on the least because all the extra money was going to pay off debt because we understood debt as slavery. So there was a time, Tony, where we would brag about my 10 kids being able to survive with 4 pair of jeans and 5 pair of shoes between 10 kids. How do you make that work? I don't even know, but they would be proud about that. They would be bragging about that. Instead of bragging about, oh, my son or my daughter stays in Jordans, my son, daughter stays in True Religion, my son, daughter stays in whatever the other brands are, right? But you're bragging about that and you don't own nothing. You don't even own a single share of stock in any of those companies that you're supporting and that you're promoting day in and day out. So wealthy people understand the power of ownership. That's how the rich get richer. Guys, do you guys understand that a share of Nike stock right now is about $53 or something like that? It's about $53. So for a pair of those $200 Jordans, and some of you guys are paying more than that because you got to get the hookouts, you got to get them before they come out. So you're paying an extra $100 for somebody who works at Foot Locker to get them to you early and all that. For the amount of one pair of those shoes, you can get about 3 or 4 shares of stock in the company that produces those shoes. And now you have ownership. Now you have ownership. So you have to start thinking differently. Wealthy people understand the power of ownership. If I start to own, right? If I save my pennies and I bought me a little shack and I fix it up and I use that as my first house instead of taking a $250,000 mortgage out to buy a home because that's what society says is the so-called American dream. And then if I know that in the same society that said that's the American dream, that encourages me to take a 30-year mortgage out on a house, when at the same time the average American doesn't stay on their job more than 7 or 10 years, but yet I got a 30-year mortgage. We got to start looking at some things differently. See, wealthy people do things differently. They set up different habits. They understand the difference between asset and liability. They measure their success and their status by their net worth, not their income, because we know a lot of high income people who don't own a doggone thing. They got a lot of income coming in, but they don't own anything because they spend all of that income on things that don't appreciate in value, right? And then last but not least, my sister over here raising her hand. Stop it. Last but not least, I told you I was going to share an excerpt with you from The Millionaire Next Door. Again, I'm about a third of the way through this book. I'll get finished with this one next week, and I'll start on my next one. I want you guys to hold me accountable. I told you guys that I'm going to devour 5 books a month. I'm going to go ahead and order my series of books from Dr. Claude Anderson, the Powernomics series, including Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2, Black Labor, White Wealth, and also the Powernomics book itself. I think those are the four that I'm going to start. I'm going to finish this one off. This one isn't going to count towards my 5. And then I told you guys when we did our show on procrastination, I think I'm going to grab Eat That Frog. I already have that in my library, so I'm going to pull that back out because I need to manage my time better. You know, I retired from my job October 3rd, 2016. I still haven't quite figured out how to best maximize my time. She said she got her copy. She's reading it now. Yeah, it's powerful. So let me give you this little bit of excerpt because you guys are hearing me hard on this show all the time. Start a business so that you can. It says my connection is weak for Facebook. It says start a business so you can write off your lifestyle so you can pay less in tax. You guys hear me all the time say that. Who is the author of this one is Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko. So you hear me all the time harping about that. So I'm going to see if Facebook is going to jump back on the connection before I read this excerpt because I want them to get this too. But if not, I give them a hot second. But this is very powerful when you understand. So assets versus liabilities, they understand. They measure their status in net worth and not income. They live below their means. And then I'm just going to have to give you guys an excerpt, and then maybe Facebook will reboot for them, and it'll come back up. And then they plan for the future. So it says, income tax is the single largest annual expenditure for most households. It is tax on income, not on wealth, and not on the appreciation of wealth if this appreciation is not realized. That is, if it does not generate cash flow. What is the message? Even many high income producing households are asset poor. One reason is that they maximize their realized incomes, often to support high consumption lifestyles. Such people might wish to ask themselves a simple question: could I live on the equivalent of 6.7% of my wealth? It takes much discipline to become affluent. We have interviewed many people with $2 or $3 million who have total annualized incomes of less than $80,000 a year. So these people have $1 million, $2 and $3 million net worths, but their actual cash flow or their annualized or taxable income is only $80,000 a year. How much does a typical American household realize in income each year? About $35,000 to $40,000. All right, so you guys are back. So I'll start reading it from the beginning because I was giving this excerpt. So let me give you this. So we're talking about from the book Millionaire Next Door, and I was telling you guys that I harp on all the time minimizing your taxes, understanding the power of or understanding the amount of taxes that you pay and why how it can really affect your ability to build wealth. So it says income tax is the single largest annual expenditure for most households. It is the tax on income. It's not the tax on wealth. It's not the tax on the appreciation of wealth when this appreciation is not realized, or when the wealth does not generate income or cash flow, right? So income tax is the largest expenditure that you have. This is why I want everybody in their own home-based business so that you can start minimizing your taxes, because a lot of your lifestyle becomes tax deductible. And for those of you who want a home-based business, you want to partner with me, right now I'm running a special. Just $5 will allow you to partner with me. Inbox me and I'll get you some information on how you can partner with me in a home-based business that teaches financial education. So income tax is your largest expense, right? It says, what is the message here? Even many high-income producing households are asset poor. They don't understand the difference between assets and liabilities, right? One reason is that they maximize their realized income. So realized income is another word for taxable income. They're maximizing their taxable income or their income from labor, right? Income from labor is usually the taxable income, often to support high consumption lifestyles. Again, they're making good money, but they're buying junk with the money. Such people might want to ask themselves the simple question: could I live on the equivalent of 6.7% of my wealth? It takes much discipline to become affluent. We have interviewed many people worth $2 or $3 million who have a total realized household income of less than 80,000. Right? How do you become worth $2 and $3 million, but you have less than $80,000 a year in taxable income? Right? Because they know the game. They know that taxes is your largest expense. So they don't keep running up their income that they're making from their labor. Any income that they come from their labor, they're taking that and they're dumping it into their investments. They're taking it and buying assets so that they can still get the value of having an $80,000 a year income, but they're not taxed on $80,000 a year. So you have to understand, how much does typical American households realize in income each year? About $35,000 to $40,000, or nearly the equivalent of 90% of their net worth. So working class people, poor middle class people, 90% of their net worth is coming from their income. But what happens if you lose your job? Then your net worth goes to almost zero, because we talked about the fact that most working class people are asset poor. They don't own anything. The only thing they own is the income from their jobs. If you lose that job, then you're going to be in trouble, my friend. And I'm not wishing that on anybody, but understand you got to position yourself for the worst. You always, prepare for the worst. Right? So 30 to 40,000 is what most people are bringing home in realized income or taxable income. The result is that the typical household in America pays the equivalent of more than 10% of its wealth in income taxes each year. So this is the real reason rich people continue to get richer. How about millionaires whom we surveyed? On average, their annual tax bill is an amount equivalent to about 2% of their wealth. So poor and middle class people are paying 10% of their wealth in taxes. Rich and wealthy people are paying just about 2% of their wealth in taxes. This is one reason they remain financially independent. So you see, it's not just me screaming, get a home-based business, get a home-based business so you can minimize your taxes. You can take that tax money and use it to eliminate your debt. Take that debt money now that you were paying to the banks and use that to start acquiring and accumulating assets. It's not just me. That is a formula, guys, to building wealth and maintaining wealth. You cannot build wealth if you're overtaxed, because when you're overtaxed, that's what leads you down to the bank to start borrowing money to finance your lifestyle. So get your taxes under control. The best way for most working class people to do that is to have a home-based business, right? The second way that most working class people can do that, but they can't because they're overextended with their debt and things. But the second way is to take 20, 30% of your income and start investing it, because most of that money that you're investing can be tax deductible. But most of us are, again, 3 out of 4 are living paycheck to paycheck. So we can't afford to take 30% of our income and invest it to reduce our tax liability. So that's why I think the #1 way to reduce your tax liability is through a home-based business. It's through a home-based business, because right now you can start a home-based business with me for just $5. $35 a month allows you to maintain that home-based business, and we teach you how to use the tax code to build wealth. But it doesn't matter this business, any business, right? It doesn't matter any business that you can start. I mean, some business you can start for free. But if you start a business, then you can start accessing the tax code. There's over 450 tax deductions that you can take that will allow you to minimize that tax liability. So that's extremely important. Now, again, 4 or 5 things that we just talking about this morning. I have to wrap the show up so I can get on the road back to St. Louis. All right. So we talked about wealthy people understand the difference between assets and liabilities. They spend their lives accumulating assets and minimizing the accumulation of liabilities. Do they have big screen TVs? I'm sure they do. Do they have do they spend money out to eat and things of that nature? I'm sure they do. But they understand to take 20, 30% of their income and put it into some sort of investments that's going to bring them more income down the road, or that's going to appreciate in value. Flip that to the other side. Poor middle class people are spending about 70% of their income on junk that will never bring them a single dollar. It's a big difference. Spending about 70% of their income on junk that will never bring them a single dollar, right? So wealthy people understand the power of ownership, right? So they own businesses. They own stock in companies. They own appreciating assets. They own gold. They own silver. They own other precious metals. They own real estate. They own collectibles. You know, they buy valuable things that are going to appreciate in value. They understand this very, very clearly. We have to get with the program. What are you spending your money on? How much money did you spend on Christmas on things that will never appreciate in value? Right? Did you buy your children any assets for Christmas this year? Right? Because we talked about if you didn't watch my show, "'Tis the Season to Invest," go back and watch it. Go to Stitcher.com and download the podcast. I gave you about 10 different stocks that you can buy, all less than $100. Most of them were even less than $50, right? I think Sony stock is less than $50. You bought your kid a PlayStation 4 for Christmas. Did you buy them a share of Sony stock for Christmas? You bought your kid Jordan for Christmas. Did you buy them Nike stock for Christmas? All right. We have to change the conversation when it comes to money. And if we can do that in this generation, if our generation sacrifices and do these tough things, what's the name of it again? Is it the name of the book, The Millionaire Next Door, Darius? If you're talking about the name of the book, it's The Millionaire Next Door. Thomas Stanley and William Danko are the authors. Basically, they surveyed bunches of millionaires and started looking at and analyzing their lifestyles, and they realized that typical millionaires don't look like what we see on TV, and that's part of the game. That's part of the game. Is they got us trying to look like the people that we see on TV, and that is not what a real millionaire looks like. Real millionaires you can find in thrift stores. You guys understand that? In this book, it talked about the number of millionaires that shop at thrift stores. Are you kidding me? That ain't what Hollywood says a millionaire. But that's part of the game. Hollywood got you, who is barely a thousandaire, trying to go buy a Bugatti because that's the status of wealth. Nah, man. Wealthy people measure their status by their net worth. And if you go buy a Bugatti to do anything other than set it up in your car collection, then you don't understand the game. See, when wealthy people go buy a Bugatti, they don't go buy a Bugatti to drive it. They go buy a Bugatti to put it in a showroom, and they're gonna let it sit there for 50 years, and then that $300,000, $400,000 Bugatti becomes worth $1 million because it's got 7 miles on it. And it just sits up and looks real pretty because that's an investment for wealthy people. See, we don't understand that. We've got to understand it, right? Appreciate you sharing, Darius. So that's why. So another reason. So they measure their net worth. They measure their status and their success by their net worth, not their income. They minimize their taxable income, guys. If you have a home-based business and you got a $2,400 a month mortgage, right? You put a home office in your home, then you can make maybe $400 of that mortgage becomes tax deductible. So that's nearly $5,000 off your taxable income each year, right? And then you start looking at the amount of miles you drive on your car. You know, this trip for me from St. Louis to Tupelo and back, it's about 500 or 600 miles I put on my van, right? But those miles are tax deductible because I'm here on business. I'm here on business, right? So what can you do to turn your lifestyle into a tax deductible business expense 60, 70% of the time? I have 4 brands that I build everywhere I go. This All Amateur Sports Network is a brand of mine. right? So everywhere I go, I'm promoting a brand. That means that everything that I spend on as I'm promoting that brand is tax deductible. So I bring my taxable income down low so I can use that money that I save to increase my net worth, right? It's all about increasing the net worth. And then you got to understand how to live below your means, right? Stop trying to keep up with the Joneses, because what you don't realize is the Joneses are on their way down. They're on their way down. So you're doing things to keep up with them, and they broke, right? But again, we don't take our time and energy and efforts to solve our money problems. We take our time, energy, and effort to cover up our money problems. So we took that same energy, that same effort to say, you know what? I'm broke, but here's what I'm gonna do to fix it. I'm gonna stop bleeding money out the window every month, bring that money back, get myself on stable financial ground, and start building and accumulating income producing assets. Right? Got to live below your means. And then last but not least, wealthy people plan for 2, 3, 4 generations. Poor middle class people plan for Saturday night. Big difference. Big difference. Right? Wealthy people plan for 2, 3, 4 generations. Poor middle class people plan for Saturday night. We've got to start thinking differently about our future and how the choices that we make today will affect our tomorrow. So with that, guys, I'm going to get on the road and head back to St. Louis. Appreciate you guys tuning in this morning. The wealthy people get richer, not because they're outsmarting anybody else, but because they have habits that will make them rich on autopilot. Right? Wealthy people are not smarter than us. Wealthy people are not more creative than us. Wealthy people don't have greater passions than us. They just took the time and invested in their financial education. And as they got their financial education up, they start implementing the strategies needed to build wealth. And as a result, they are getting wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. So appreciate that, guys. I will be safe as I hit the road. Thank you again for tuning in. Again, today's sponsor is Bedrock Assurance. Your favorite CPA, Eric Pierre, has all of your accounting needs. They do accounting services, year-round tax planning. You can go to www.bedrockassurance.com. You can also look them up on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/your-favorite-CPA. Facebook.com/your-favorite-CPA. So I'm your man, H Cortez, financial health mentor to the working class. Until I talk to you guys tomorrow, I want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it. Peace out, people.